Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 19th December 2020. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled Walk the Green Talk. So basically, recently in the Climate Ambition Summit, our Prime Minister has reiterated our stance that we are here for moving towards sustainable development. As a part of our nationally determined contributions that we have announced in the Paris summit, India wants to stick to that. There are broadly two themes. One is moving towards sustainable energy, and the other one is reducing the carbon emissions. In order to reduce the carbon emissions, our strategy is to improve the carbon stocks. So basically, when we are talking about carbon stocks, we are talking about forests. So these are the broad themes. When we're talking about sustainable energy, we have to understand that thermal energy is the major form of power generation. In India, at present, 72% of the total power is generated from coal. So there is a definite need to move towards renewable energy. So we have set a target of 175 gigawatts by 2020, and recently the target has been increased to 450 gigawatts by 2025 in 2018. So Climate Ambition Summit, in that meeting our Prime Minister has announced this new target in 2018. So what are the problems in achieving this target? Let us start with the most obvious one, that is solar. When we are talking about renewable energy, the first problem is regulatory regulatory mechanisms which are involved in this solar. So when we're talking about solar, the major problem is the cost have come down, but the purchase obligations which the states signed long back ago were not honored by the states. Secondly, states like Andhra Pradesh have actually renegotiated the purchase obligations. So way back in 2015 and 16, when the power purchase obligations was signed by a lot of companies, the unit power cost was somewhere around 6 to 7 rupees. Now it fell to almost 3 to 4 rupees. It is actually even less when we are taking into consideration 2 to 3 rupees is the cost of solar power in a lot of areas. So no state wants to spend so much of amount of money for adopting solar. So the second problem is rooftop. Rooftop solars are those solars which are installed upon individual complexes. They're supposed to be connected to the grid, but the options given to the consumers is either net metering or gross metering. What this means is, net metering means whatever energy is created by that solar panel, a part of that will be utilized by their own complex. So whatever is the excess energy that is left out, that is given out as a power source, and it is connected to, it was supposed to be connected to the grid, but that didn't really happen. When we're talking about gross, the entire energy will be taken up by the grid and they will get certain amount of money in return. So this scheme also did not take off because of the pricing involved. Either net metering or gross metering is too expensive for the owner to set up. So for example, 2 to 3 lakhs is the cost for setting up a solar panel. It requires regular maintenance and it's not actually catering to the demand in the peak time. So there should be a dynamic pricing. This is one policy measure which can improve the take up of this rooftop solar. So this is about solar energy. Other renewable energy sources like wind and hybrid solar and wind, all these are in the nascent stages. So solar is the game changer when we're talking about renewable energy along with hydropower. Why are we talking about renewable energy? Say for example, one major sector that will drive the growth of renewable energy sector is transportation. Railways is supposed to completely make a transition towards clean energy by 2024. So this clean energy is completely driven by electricity. So electric trains are the way forward for transportation sector. Similarly, we are talking about electric buses. We are talking about electric vehicles in the form of FAME scheme by the Ministry of Heavy Industries. So the entire sector is going to change, and for all this, renewable energy is going to be the game changer. But unless and until we deal with the dichotomy, what is the dichotomy? On one hand, we have coal, which is supposed to be phased out, yet we are still in the phase of reforming our coal sector so that we reduce our imports. We have a very short window of time wherein we have to use our coal resources, otherwise, they will be left as such as untapped potential, because greenhouse gases are increasing, and world over there is a consensus that we have to move towards renewable energy. Even India agrees to this, but in the given short window, we cannot completely make a transition towards renewable energy without actually using or leveraging the available coal resources in our country. On one hand, when we're talking about thermal, even if we hit the target that our Prime Minister has laid down in the 2018 summit, we'll still have around 62% of energy coming from thermal sources by 2030. We have to decrease this. Now, how is that possible? Only through clean coal technology, and at the same time making a transition towards a cleaner sources of fuel. So all the policy measures that are needed for encouraging the renewable energy sector should be streamlined. They are there but in silos. So what this will actually do is it will make life very difficult for those who want to adopt renewable energy. That is the gist of this article. The second article for the day, taken from the Financial Express, titled Future Proofing Agriculture, is about how we have to focus on our basics. If we take a look at agriculture as a business, or any business as such, the basic funda is this: input cost can never be greater than output revenue. Do we agree? Yes. The revenue should always be greater than the input cost, otherwise it is a loss making business. So traditionally, agriculture has always remained as a loss making business despite its huge potential. Recently, the Food and Agricultural Organization has reiterated the same point, that globally our food prices are coming down because of economies of scale. In this scenario, unless and until we empower farmers, we cannot actually make agriculture a profitable business. So as long as we are giving subsidies for inputs and not focusing on the output, the results will not change. Now, if you take a look at the debate whether MSP is necessary or not. So what is MSP? MSP is like a minimum guarantee or minimum support price. Say for example, in the market, 1000 rupees is the cost that is given to 100 kgs bag of rice. But when you actually take a look at the cost of production, it will be somewhere around 1250. Now, as per various committees and the recommendations of CACP, then you will understand that the minimum support price is given by the government because of absence of market forces and supply and demand mismanagement. Just that. So what we have to actually do is ensure that the conditions required for markets to function well should be ensured. Now this is what exactly the farm laws are trying to do, the farm bills. So basically, the problems associated with what we know today as APMCs. Let me give a brief background about this APMCs. In 1950s, just after independence, we were dependent upon US for our food grains through a program called PL 480. Now, this PL 480 program has been designed in such a way that every time we needed some grains from United States, we were held hostage for obliging for their request in international politics. So India did not like this. Luckily enough for us, we have had the Green Revolution, which has actually changed the face of Indian agriculture, especially the state of Punjab. Now, even after this production, what was happening was the local dealers were trying to create market distortion. In order to address that problem, we have had the APMC Act and after that MSP. Now, what is the purpose of this APMC Act? So, basically, what APMC tried to do was it first started recognizing the jurisdiction. So, as soon as a farmer produces his produce, back in the day it was collected by middlemen. So, this jurisdiction was demarcated by APMCs and market mandis or market yards were created, and this is the place where the farmers started selling their produce. Secondly, by doing this and also levying a fee, the government has actually generated some revenue which was again supposed to be reinvested into agricultural marketing infrastructure. But what happened was the same Arhatiyas or the middlemen also took political shape, and APMC was not so successful in a lot of states. However, in states like Punjab, because of the uh, presence of public distribution system and the needs for food security, a formidable MSP regime, that is a minimum guarantee, was given to the farmers. That is the reason why Punjab had this fortune of having a regular MSP. And according to the Shanta Kumar committee report, only 6% of the farmers knew something about MSP. The rest, 94% of the farmers, did not use MSP. So, when today we see the Punjabi farmers carrying out protests in Delhi, it is because they are not to be blamed. We cannot say that just like the rest of the country, Punjabi farmers should also remain poor. That is not the aspiration. A farmer should always be rich or rich enough to feed his entire country. What we should actually aspire for is to ensure that the rest of the 94% also have a, a rich wealth in such a way that it is not dependent on the government. Now, is MSP the way to ensure all that? No. What we have to actually do is, just like in every other sector, today we don't see uh, uh, government trying to intervene in a lot of business areas. Imagine if government monopolized e-commerce, what would have been the situation? You will have to wait days and days together. Say, for example, if India Post had a monopoly on e-commerce, would you be getting your daily delivery? Is there any guarantee? There is no incentive for anyone to work hard. So the positive sign of a market is that it allows competition, and the person who is willing to work hard will ensure efficiency to the entire system. Similar logic works to the agricultural sector also. In a scenario where the global prices are falling down, without free market, we cannot achieve anything. Yes, there are certain examples like Bihar where, despite removing the APMC Act, we have not had success. Removing whatever is working perfectly, or even if it is not working perfectly, to some extent it is working inefficiently. If you are removing an inefficient system and not doing anything else, obviously it is bound to fail. So, in such a scenario, the government's role should not only be negative, that is, removing the existing infrastructure, but also should play the positive role of creating the trust in the system. So, this is what was lacking in the farm bills. Now, how do you create this trust? We have to ensure that there is a slow transition towards a market based economy. There should be ample amount of evidences to the farmers across the country that this system is really going to work and it is going to empower their lives. So that is the only way we can ensure a future where the global prices would be falling and at the same time food security is to be concerned. For all this, we have to free our agricultural markets and revamp our agricultural market yards. So that is the gist of this article.